and you can see them with their hands up as they move through here to get them off campus. We're told that the school is in lockdown, but we see this from time to time in situations like this. So we know a helicopter, you've heard it, you've seen it up there. It is a life flight chopper that's been called to Troutdale, to Reynolds High School. We don't know if it's landing or if there's any need for a life flight helicopter at this point.
You can see here the sheriff's bringing another tactical vehicle into the scene here. But to get back to that parent, she had just heard that her son is okay, and he was telling her that right now they're in lockdown, and she thinks he's in a performing arts class. So right now a lot of the students in that classroom, she said, hold up in lockdown, waiting for further instruction from police and from deputies right now. A very tense situation for a lot of these parents out here wondering where their children are, a lot of them trying to text with their kids.
We see students tweeting. We've locked onto a couple of those accounts this morning, and we see they're talking about a number of police cars. We know that. One student tweeting that she heard gunfire, and a third reporting a police officer racing toward the school's gymnasium. We've confirmed an active shooter, at least one on campus. We don't know much more than that.
Has she said anything about what's going on inside the school right now?
She has not. She has not. She says she can't talk on the phone. She's okay. That was after multiple phone calls to her.
Looking around, you see lots of parents and students here. Describe to us the general feeling in the air.
Fear. Fear.
I found out it was in the gym, was the shooting, and that's where I would have been if I was at school, so I'm glad I missed the bus. My sister's in there. I've called her a bunch of times, but she hasn't picked up.
This is from the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office this morning, reporting that the situation has stabilized. That is their word. It's stabilized, and that the shooter is dead.
They are moving the area where they are reuniting kids with their parents to the Fred Meyer in, it's called the Wood Village Fred Meyer, northeast 223rd and Gleason Street. That is where they want parents to go now.
SWAT teams are going through the buildings now, room by room, to not only search but secure these areas, and they're taking out the students, getting them out of those rooms and off campus as they go. Something they've drilled for, something they're unfortunately ready for in most schools across the country these days.
And sometimes we do this where they train you to stay away from windows, lock doors, wait until a principal or a cop comes in to release you guys, which is, I think, is really good training.
And if you're on Twitter and you're looking for information about this, official information, the hashtag is RHShooting. That is the hashtag you want to use on Twitter to get information about what's happening with law enforcement in this situation.
I walked around the perimeter earlier, and obviously not only do they have police tape around the entire perimeter, but they have police officers staged at every point to make sure no one crosses that line, either leaving the crime scene or coming into.
Today is a very tragic day for the city of Troutdale and Reynolds School District. A gunman entered the high school this morning, shot one student. Unfortunately, that student has died. The gunman was located, and the gunman is also deceased.
Now we have Linda Florence, Superintendent, Reynolds School District.
This is a very tragic day, one that I had hoped would never, ever be part of my experience.
Are there any more injuries besides the student who was shot?
My understanding, they're still investigating the school. They're still going through the school. My understanding that is it. Its initial indications are that is it. But we're still working the investigation.
You can see the concern on people's faces. They're all waiting right at the edge here, and waiting for their kids. The buses have arrived, the first wave, but we don't know exactly how long it'll be before they begin to get kids with their parents. In the meantime, you see faces like this with this nice woman with her hand up to her mouth. And what are you waiting for, and how are you doing?
Just want to hug my girl.
Who is she?
Cheyenne.
And she goes to Reynolds?
She's a junior.
Yeah, tell me what you know.
She said she's okay. She's with a group of friends that are all okay, and that they're getting ready to get on buses.
We just heard a press conference where we learned that the shooter is dead, but one student is dead as well. What's your reaction?
Just pray for their family. Just don't want to know who it is.
When you woke up this morning, you didn't expect a day like this, did you? Hearing that news, what does that make you feel about your daughter, and knowing that she's okay, and what you plan to do with her when you get to her?
I just want to hold her. Just want to hold her tight. Get her home.
We wish you and Cheyenne the best.
Thank you.
I don't think I want to bother anybody else right now. I think that pretty much says it for the kind of reaction you're going to be hearing from all these parents, a lot of them with tears in their eyes.
This is still an ongoing investigation. We've seen evidence of that just a few minutes ago. We saw heavily armed tactical teams or CERT teams moving through the parking lot, checking vehicle after vehicle, just looking in the windows to make sure there's nothing suspicious. You can see some officers that are staged in multiple points, and we've seen that throughout the duration of this situation. As police responded, they set up posts around campus to make sure the students are safe and secure, and obviously at the time there was concern about an active shooter.
We have several thousand parents here already. You know, the kids are being loaded on the buses. They're en route here now. Very, very important, and once you get down here, this needs to be an orderly process in order for us to get the kids back to their parents and loved ones safely.
It's going to be a process, as we described, and it will be slow, but what they don't want to do is have parents rush the area to their child, as emotional as this is, as right as that might feel to do. They've just got to keep everybody safe and make sure that nobody gets tripped up and that the students go to the right families.
Amazingly orderly when you consider all the angst and aggravation and everything these parents have experienced this morning, and now we see this woman expressing her emotion, almost cheering at the sight of her child.
Just for a moment, tell me what it's like to be back with your mom.
Oh, it feels great to be back with her. Pretty scary over there. Yeah.
Tell me about it a little bit. What did you experience?
Oh, well, we just saw people running everywhere, like people screaming. We didn't know what was going on, and we just all went to the back of the classroom. We were all scared.
Suddenly I heard a bunch of shots, but at first I thought they were firecrackers because they were too fast and too short of a period of time.
We were going in for 7th period and finals, and there was just there was 2 shots after we were all meeting in the gym, and I saw one of them run by us as we were running to our weight room thing, and he had no mask on and just see the side of his face. And
did you see him carrying a gun? How do you know it's one of them?
He was carrying a gun running after one of our teachers, our PE teacher, Mr. Rispler, who actually ended up getting shot.
We want to go to right now Catherine Cook, who is on the phone with us. Catherine graduated from Reynolds High School, now a reporter for us, obviously, here at News Channel 8. And Catherine, you can confirm now for us about some information about one of the injured in this shooting. What do you know?
Yeah, Russ. It's actually a gentleman who I've known since I was 13 years old. That's because he was my first track coach over at H.B. Lee Middle School, and then went over to Reynolds High School the same time as I did and coached me in high jump all 4 years and was a mentor through college, and saw him as recently as 3 years ago when I spoke at the Reynolds High School graduation. His name is Todd Rispler. He is an amazing man, amazing husband, amazing father, coach, and teacher. He was, as I understand from other staff members who I've been in contact with, grazed on the hip by a bullet, and he is okay. In fact, he was not immediately transferred to the hospital because the injury was so minor. And it just makes me, choke up right now thinking about it, because, to have someone like him in harm's way, and to know that there was a possibility that another senseless killing could have happened today, and it was him, it blows my mind, and I'm so relieved he's okay, and my heart just goes out to the student and the family of the student who is not okay.
The way this is going is more smooth than I expected. It's not one student at a time. They kind of bring them out a bus line at a time, line them up, and when parents start raising their hands and speaking out, the officers are keeping an eye out for that and bringing them out pretty quickly.
Tell us about the moment you saw your parents when you got here, Eric.
They were pretty scared. My mom. I knew my mom was almost gonna cry.
I hugged them, and then I said, "Why are you crying? I'm fine."
Makes you love everybody you know.
We want to turn now to get some really some help for parents in this situation. Their kids are hearing about it. They might not go to Reynolds High School, but always a tough conversation to have tonight, maybe as the family gathers for dinner or as you put the kids to bed. So we want to get some professional perspective on this from somebody from Trillium Family Services.
Because everyone felt that they were vulnerable
vulnerable to something bad happening to them. So that's clearly there. So at a time like that, the pace needs to be slowed down. So people may be better off getting off the social media and just getting a sense of quiet, coming home, relaxing.
Know that you now are home and safe. Be with your family. Be together with people you care about, and reestablish the day-to-day routines that you're okay.
In the school right now, there are likely interviews being conducted. Not only that, though, the interviews will continue to go on after this. They'll speak with many witnesses who may have seen something, may have heard something, and continue to probe into the shooter's background, not only here at the scene, assuming in fact that that shooter is a student, but also likely at their home or anyone else who may have some connections or some background to give some better idea of who this person was, their motive, likely where they got the gun from, and more into that individual's background.
We're the only society, we're the only developed country on earth where this happens. And it happens now once a week. And it's a one-day story. There's no place else like this.
Students who need mental health, someone to talk to. We have lots of counselors available. And for students who are already at home and need some additional help, I have a phone number for them to call.
Tonight I must share some sad news that we have identified the victim in today's shooting as 14-year-old Emilio Hoffman, a freshman at Reynolds High School.
14-year-old Emilio is just a great kid, a good soccer player. There's been a lot of tweets and certainly Facebook posts from all of his friends, and there were many, many people who really just adored him.
News Channel 8's Chris Willis was first to identify the victim today after speaking with a family spokesperson, and Chris joins us now with more on this 14-year-old freshman who died today.
Well, Joe, his family says Emilio Hoffman was a great kid and loved by all.
Law enforcement sources tell NBC News the shooter is a student here at Reynolds High School. That individual has not been publicly identified at this point. Meanwhile, the campus remains a crime scene. You can see crime tape cordoning off not only the parking lots, but the building.
I want to share with you something that is stunning. There's a group called Every Town, and they've been counting every time there's been a school shooting since the Newtown massacre. 74, including today's here. And that, when you add it all up, means that since that shooting in December of 2012, there have been, on average, one school shooting every week. We don't know if our elected officials are going to do anything about that this time, but we do know they are moved by it. We know that because we watched as one of them, Earl Blumenauer, had an emotional moment on the floor of the U.S. House.
Troutdale High School is a terrific institution in my district. I was there recently. The kids gave me a wooden bow tie with a bicycle on it. In a scene that is achingly familiar, this morning at Reynolds, a shooting occurred. Student killed, the shooter died, a teacher wounded. I would ask, Mr. Speaker, that the House observe a moment of silence in support for the victims, their families, and the community.
Observe a moment of silence. Two vigils tonight, 7:30 at the Greater Portland Baptist Church and 9 o'clock on the soccer field at Walt Morey Middle School.
Which is here in Troutdale. It is closer.
Exactly. And just to point out, too, that crisis counselors are available at Mount Hood Community College until 7 o'clock tonight, and then again until from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. tomorrow. And it appears they may have extended that. The last I heard it was 7 tonight. It may be 9 tonight. But I know we also have counselors standing by back at KGW in our newsroom, open and willing and ready to talk to folks online right now if you have questions about how to talk to your kids about what happened here today.
You know, the web chat is going on right now. We have the professionals who are here in one of our conference rooms who are able to answer questions of people here. You know, one of the things that they're finding out is a lot of the questions really kind of center around how people will talk to their younger children about this to get them to understand exactly what's going on and make sure that they understand that they are going to be able to be safe.